working.
We are absolutely 120% live and in full effect. It is a Wednesday night at 8 p.m. Do you know where your POGs are? We have a little bit of a surprise for you as we decided to come on live tonight to talk about all things President Biden. This is the first time he's going to address the nation since he decided to step down in the best interest of his country. So this will be a chance and opportunity for him to kind of answer some questions and address the nation and kind of let us know how he feel and what he's feeling about. As always, it's your boy KJ Bradley with the best chaplain in the world, Chaplain Lance O'Neill. Chappie, before we dive in, what's happening with you, man? How you doing?
I'm doing well. I think this is going to be interesting. He's obviously not going to answer any questions. That would be that would be probably too much to hope for. But I am really going to be. I don't think he's going to step down. Honestly, he probably. I'm so torn on it because if he steps down, it gives Kamala 4 or 5 months to say, "Look how well I've done." And if he doesn't step down, then why is he dropping out of the race? Oh, are we going?
No, yeah,
they're showing the White. No, I mean they're showing the White House. Does that mean he's about to? Is he going to be on time this time?
No, of course not. No, Biden's behind. As
okay, I cannot hear David Muir right now. If he's
I got him muted. I have everything muted.
Let's bring him on because I love the ridiculousness of ABC right now.
ABC News Special. President Biden, the decision, address to the nation.
The decision.
For the first time since exiting the race for the White House, finished the job he started. Now reporting, David Muir.
Good evening, and thank you for joining us on this historic night. We are just moments away from
Hi, David.
Office address to the nation. For the first time, he will speak to the American people about.
I will say, I do love the way he presents. David Muir is one of my favorite journalists. I love the way he presents.
He will argue in his words that the defense of democracy is more important than any title, and he will outline his remaining 6 months.
Okay, they can hear us talking.
Great. Can they hear the feed?
Donald Trump.
Yes. Okay, we're good. I was just checking on YouTube. We've never done this before, so we're checking.
Yeah. So we're using this platform as a dry run so that we can go in and check the debates. When we get into the debates, which I'm really excited about, we're gonna live stream. So this is our dry run, everybody. So we may run into some issues. Oh, here we go. We are live and running. Let's go, Prez.
Oh, he's almost on time.
I'm speaking tonight from behind the resolute desk in the Oval Office. In this sacred space, I'm surrounded by portraits of extraordinary American presidents. Thomas Jefferson wrote the immortal words that guide this nation.
I wonder if he could name all of the presidents that are actually up on the walls.
Not kings.
I don't know.
Abraham Lincoln implored us to reject malice.
He is definitely off the teleprompter today.
Who inspired us to reject fear. I revere this office, but I love my country more. It's been the honor of my life to serve as your president.
I thought Orange Man bad.
But in the defense of democracy, which is at stake, I think is more important than any title. I draw strength and I find joy.
The rhetoric is supposed to be turned down, and within the first 15 seconds, he says democracy is at stake.
Protecting our union. It's not about me. It's about you, your families, your futures.
And everybody who said I had to get out or they wouldn't give me money.
Forget that. And I never had. I've made it clear that I believe America is at an inflection point. One of those rare moments in history when the decisions we make now determine our fate of our nation and the world for decades to come. America's going to have to choose between moving forward or backward, between hope and hate, between unity and division. We have to decide, do we still believe in honesty, decency, respect, freedom, justice, and democracy?
Oh my gosh, is Kamala Harris Superman?
We can see those we disagree with not as enemies, but as fellow Americans. Can we do that?
No, you just said he was an enemy.
I believe you know the answer to these questions because I know you, the American people. And I know this. We are a great nation because we are good people. When you elect
I
me
wish
to
we
this,
could see his pupils.
I promise to always level with you, to tell you the truth. The truth. Sacred cause of this country is larger than any one of us. Those of us who cherish that cause cherish it so much. The cause of American democracy itself must unite to protect it. You know, in recent weeks, it's become clear to me I need to unite my party in this critical endeavor. I believe
What's he reaching for?
my leadership in the world, my vision for America's future, all merited a second term. But nothing can come in the way of saving our democracy. That includes personal ambition.
KJ, why is his arm like that?
Forward is the path to
Just
torch to a
balance
new
it.
generation. It's the best way to unite our nation. You know, there was a time and a place for long years of experience in public life.
That was
There's also
weird.
a place for new voices, fresh voices, yes, younger voices. And that time and place is now.
A week after they threatened me.
Months, I'll be focused on doing my job as president. That means I'll continue to lower costs for hardworking families, grow our economy. I'll keep defending our personal freedoms and our civil rights, from the right to vote to the right to choose. I'll keep
But
calling
not the
it-
right to carry a gun.
Make it clear there is no place in America for political violence or any violence ever, period.
Not even self-defense?
Speaking out, protect our kids from gun violence. Our planet from climate crisis is the existential threat.
Oh, the violence of climate.
Cancer moonshot. So we can end cancer as we know it because we can do it. I'm going to call for Supreme Court reform because this is critical to our democracy.
That won't pass.
You know, I will keep working to ensure America remains strong, secure, and the leader of the free world.
He's running out of gas already.
In this century, to report to the American people that the United States is not at war anywhere in the world.
You can see the teleprompter over
We'll
his
keep
left
rallying
shoulder.
the coalition of proud nations to stop Putin.
If you look at the window in between his
Yeah.
left ear and the shoulder, you can see the
We'll keep
teleprompter
NATO
scrolling.
strong.
Yeah. Hey, did you know we're not at war anywhere in the world?
All of our history. I'll keep doing the same
Sit
for
to win.
allies in the Pacific. You know, when I came to office,
Pretty sure we're at cyber war with several countries.
we
That's
never
weird,
expect-
man.
we
They need a
never
better
invested
production
in the
team. You're not
United
supposed.
States.
They're supposed to adjust the
something
lighting
crazy.
so you can't see that reflection.
We're going to keep
Now that's
working
gonna bother me.
in the war
Knowing that
on
I can see the teleprompter running in the background, it's gonna bother
to
me.
bring peace and security to the Middle East and end this war.
Is that what it looks outside the window of that window? Or is that do you think that's a projection?
No, it's a window because you can see the reflection of the teleprompter.
You
No,
know,
but what I mean, it's a real window. Do you think outside behind that's what it actually is those trees?
I don't know.
Winter, we're
That's a
still
great
in the
question.
winter of peril, the winter of possibilities. Peril and possibilities.
What is he the winter of possibilities?
Pandemic in the century. The worst economic crisis since the Great Depression. The worst attack on our democracy since the Civil War. We came together as Americans. We got through it. We emerged stronger, more prosperous, and more secure.
Did he just say we came together after January 6th?
16 million new jobs, a record. Wages are
Oh,
up. Inflation continues to come down. The racial wealth gap is the lowest it's been in 20 years. We're literally
because everybody's poor.
urban, suburban, rural, tribal communities. Manufacturing has come back to America. We're leading the world again in chips and science and innovation.
We are?
Eat Big Pharma after all these years to lower the cost of prescription drugs for seniors. I'm going to keep fighting to make sure we lower the cost for everyone, not seniors.
Didn't Trump lower the prescription cost for seniors? Wasn't that during Trump's term?
I signed one of those significant laws
That was during
helping
Biden's?
veterans and their families who are exposed to toxic materials. You know, most significant climate law ever in the history of the world. The first major gun safety law in 30 years. Today, The violent crime rate is at a 50-year low. We're also securing our border. Border crossings are lower today than when the previous administration left office.
Yes.
I've kept my commitment to appoint the first Black woman to the Supreme Court of the United States of America.
Because she was the only, because we wouldn't consider anybody but Black women.
To be a president for all Americans. That's what I've done. I ran for president 4 years
There have been
ago.
fewer people crossing the border in the last 5 minutes than at any 5-minute point during the Trump administration. Talk about splitting hairs.
America's an idea. An idea
No, it's a
stronger,
country.
bigger than any ocean, more powerful than any dictator or tyrant. It's the most powerful idea in the history of the world. That idea is that we hold these truths to be self-evident. We're all created equal. Endowed by our Creator certain inalienable rights.
You remember when he couldn't say that a couple of years ago? You know the thing.
We've never fully lived up to it, to this sacred idea.
No.
We've never walked away from it either.
There's been 3 or 4 times I haven't been able to tell what he said.
In just a few months, the American people will choose the course of America's future. I made my choice. I've made my views known. I'd like to thank our great Vice President Kamala Harris. She's experienced, she's tough, she's capable. She's been an incredible partner to me, and a leader for our country. Now the choice is up to you, the American people. You make that
It's going to be
choice.
close.
Remember
The
the words
10-minute point's going to be close.
on my wall here in the Oval Office, alongside the busts of Dr. King and Rosa Parks and
Oh, don't
Cesar
do that.
Chavez.
Don't do that.
When
Don't
Ben
do that.
Franklin was at
He's got the bust of Rosa Parks in there?
the convention going on, whether the founders have given America a monarchy or republic, Franklin's response was a republic, if you can keep it. A republic, if you can keep it. Whether we keep our republic is now in your hands.
Remix.
My fellow Americans, it's been the privilege of my life to serve this nation for over 50 years. Nowhere else on earth could a kid with a stutter, from modest beginnings in Scranton,
Oh,
Pennsylvania,
jeez.
Delaware, one day sit behind the resolute desk in the Oval Office, President of the United States. Here I am. That's what's so special about it. We're a nation of promise and possibilities.
I was born a poor Black child in southern Alabama.
Americans doing extraordinary things. I've given my heart and my soul to our nation.
It sounds like he's resigning, but he's not.
Blessed a million times in return with the love and support of the American people. I hope you have some idea how grateful I am for all of you. Great thing about America is here. Kings
Do you
and
think if they run Burgundy and wrote on there that I'm resigning tonight, he'd read it?
history is in your hands.
Probably.
The power is in your hands. The idea of America lies in your hands.
And with that, I resign tonight. Wait,
You just gotta keep
What?
faith. Keep the faith. Remember who we are. We're the United States of America. And there's simply nothing beyond our capacity. We do it together. So let's act together. Preserve our democracy. God bless
what a
you
weird
all.
cry on.
God protect our troops. Thank you.
16 minutes.
A moment in history tonight,
No,
President Biden.
he didn't come on until 8:02. So barely 12 minutes. It just clicked over. I've got 8:14.
About this being not about
Should we
me.
stay on a few minutes and see Donna Brazil
I
gush
never-
about how great President Biden just was?
Yeah, I think they're going to be on
Still
CNN.
now, as we head toward the November election, and he said nothing should come in the way of saving
Let's see where they go first before Muir leaves.
of our entire powerhouse political team here tonight. Let's get right to ABC's chief White House correspondent, Mary Bruce. And Mary, you had reported that this was a deeply personal decision. It was closely held, a very small group with him, including his wife, the First Lady, Jill Biden, that he began to come to this decision Saturday night. Then on Sunday made it official, calling the vice president, informing
Does
her.
anyone really believe he wasn't forced out?
And just 1 minute later, sending out that
Oh.
statement to the nation, my fellow Americans, it started.
Oh,
But tonight, Mary,
I
he
can still hear it, though.
for the stakes in this election, and he argued for himself that in the end,
Yeah.
President
Sorry about that.
Biden
Okay,
believed
there you go.
is at stake here is actually larger than any title, larger than even staying in the race himself.
David, the president saying he has given his heart and his soul to this country, and he is doing that again by
This woman looks like she was related to the Presley, Lisa Marie Presley.
Letter to the country.
I don't mean that as a bad thing. It just, she reminds me of one of the Presleys.
Serving, protecting, and defending. And you heard him say nothing can get in the way of saving our democracy, including personal ambition. You know, when he decided to run back
If nothing can get in the way of democracy, how can you say Donald Trump is a literal threat to democracy then?
He is making it clear that finishing the job means he needs to pass on the torch. He needs to pass the baton and help Kamala Harris now win the White House, saying now is the time for the next generation. He is also, of course, making it clear his work is not done here. He has 6 more months left in office. He wants to use that time to help cement his legacy. But David, the thing that Joe Biden will likely be most remembered for is this very moment, the way in which he is exiting this race. He did it.
Yeah, he was forced out. He's going to be remembered like LBJ was. LBJ's was more of a personal choice than this was.
Ago that came in.
When this all comes out about how they forced him out and how all the donors withheld money, and then they dropped a money bomb the day after he drops out, and Kamala Harris brought in, what was it, $180 million because all the donors were holding on. That tells you what it was. We're not giving you any more money until you're gone. And then it's going to go to the Harris campaign.
Yeah, that's I was trying to bring up the Fox News feed, but it was not acting right. It was not acting
either way. I mean, if you can get CNN or Fox News, either way, whoever you want to go to, it's all good. But yeah. So while you're doing that, go ahead and do that. And yeah, Donna Brazile it's funny because she was on before President Biden came on. And she was talking about how just it's the line we're hearing, patriotic. It's such a great thing. He's putting the country ahead of himself. It's like, dude, no, this dude was forced out. There is no doubt. If anybody has any doubt that he was forced out, I just don't know how you can. At least be honest about it, which the media won't. They'll never say anything. And then if Fox News or any Glenn Beck or anybody says what I'm saying, they're going to say, "Oh, that's just a conspiracy." It's all. I think there's a conspiracy. Did he actually write the letter that was put out that he was not going to run? What was it, Saturday night or Sunday? That was released on Twitter. He released. Have you seen the signatures? That's why it becomes a conspiracy.
What's that?
Oh, his signature was completely different, and it was a digital signature. It was weird, dude. Like, there's stuff like that. There's no reason to shoot yourself in the foot over. If it was released by the staff, which obviously it was, if it was written by his speechwriter, which it clearly was, I mean, and that's all fine. But you would think that he would have signed that with an actual signature. 1, 2, he signed it apparently digitally, and it's different than like his normal signature. Which, okay, is it because he's older and his signature's changed?
You never signed nothing on Adobe and your signature looked a little weird?
Yes, it did. Exactly. No, that's.
I think you're way too deep in the woods on that one.
No. I'm agreeing with you. It's different on Adobe, right? Like, don't you think that important of a document would be, you'd have a physical copy of it though? Like, to me, that's a big deal. Like, you are actually signing. It's not the military where you digitally sign it.
Man had COVID, man. It ain't like he could have delivered it directly to him. He sent it out to a press release. It's no different than when the commander signs a policy letter. You think that the general signing all those policy letters by hand?
Yes.
No, man. They've had stenographs for 30 years.
Well, not anymore. But when you're doing big stuff, yeah. No, you do big stuff.
Thing, yeah. No, nobody's signing anything. They haven't written speeches. They haven't written speeches for themselves in over.
Oh, of course not. Yeah, since Lincoln.
Yeah, this is all staff stuff. This is like.
But okay, was this what he?
But that would be akin to Trump going to a rally, right? And saying, hey, I didn't write any of this, but I'm gonna say it anyway. Right?
No. That's not what I mean. That's not what I'm talking about at all. Okay. The letter itself, speechwriter, totally fine. No issues with that at all. Right? Okay. But this letter is historic, correct? It is a historic letter that he is saying, my fellow Americans, I am no longer seeking the presidency, greatest honor and all that stuff, right? Got it. That's fine. I have no problem. But that letter, I don't care if he has COVID. You walk in and you say, Mr. President, here's the letter. It's been prepared. Please review it and go ahead and sign. And the pen that you sign it with is also historic at this point. When they write laws, big laws like Obamacare, how many pens did President Obama use to pass the Affordable Care Act? It was like 16 pens.
Yeah,
One.
I am almost certain that there is a hard copy letter that's going to go in his presidential archive. Why not scan that and release it? Why would you do it with Adobe, dude? It's like, easy. I get it, but because it's convenience, man. You keep this is 2024, man. It's
easy. It's the president.
It doesn't matter. Do you think Donald Trump is hand signing all of the stuff that he signs? Absolutely not, man.
Laws? Yeah. Oh, no. Laws? Yes, he is.
No. His letter was not a law. His letter was a press release. It was a
Got it. But when you're talking about historical documents, when you're talking about things like this that is going to go into the presidential library, you sign that. That's what now.
I assure you, there will be a hard copy letter in his presidential library. But for a digital, what you're trying to say is, oh, he should have had a physical letter, signed it, put it on a scanner, and then sent out that scanned letter that he signed.
KJ, not him.
That's crazy, man. That is
not
insane.
Hold on. Do you think Biden knows how to use a scanner?
Obviously, he wouldn't be the one scanning it. But what I'm saying it was a digital letter. It probably wasn't even his signature. It was probably an assistant or a staffer or something. Pencil whipped it and sent it up.
Okay, you're making my point though. Don't you think that's a problem?
No, it's a press release.
You think if that letter though, that letter is a document, and I know you're saying, look, there's probably a copy of it somewhere.
We talking about different things. Like, trust me. There is a hard copy letter that is,
of course, there is
signed, sealed, and locked away. That's going to go into the Biden Museum with a pen, right?
Of course,
that letter is signed by Biden, certified, and can be verified. But
of course,
for mass release to the media, a digital Adobe script from the office of the president with a digital signature is status quo. It just is.
It's status quo for normal documents, not for this. And the reason I say not for this is him stepping down, or not stepping down, him stepping out of the race, which that was what the letter was. That's just not a normal, hey, we want to celebrate Pride Month, or we want to celebrate the 4th of July, or the Easter release and those. Yeah, I mean, hey, you know what? That would be I'd be interested. Maybe now I'm going to have to go do some research and look. And if that's what it looks like on those, then I'm probably wrong, and I'll bite it. I'll eat the humble pie on Sunday. I'm going to go look those up. But I look at this whole thing, and it's really interesting that he's done this. I just do not believe that he randomly decided, even after conversations, after the debate for the following, well, what are we, about 3-4 weeks after the debate? Okay. Let's say 4 weeks. I'm staying in. I am going to get the job done. I can do this. I'm ready. I am not going to let Trump. I will finish the job. I will be the president. Right? And then you hear the press releases. Oh, he's getting out. And then, no, I'm not getting out. And oh, we have sources that he's getting. Oh, no, I'm staying in. And then suddenly, Nancy Pelosi shows up at the White House. Chuck Schumer shows up at the White House.
Yep.
We've been jokingly calling it the cabal, right? The cabal in this case, yeah, so-called. Well, we're just labeling it the cabal, right? The cabal in this case is saying, if you stay in, you will lose because we're not giving you any more money. This is not about democracy for Democrats, and to a larger, same thing. This is going to be the same for Trump, but this is a blatant. This is about the party staying in power. Now you can say there's things that the Republicans do, like the border bill. By the way, just a quick thought on that. The border is more secure today than when, did he say at this point in President Trump's? Because at this point in President Trump's, COVID was
the last day of Trump's presidency.
But that can't be right either, because all that was going on during Trump's whole thing was COVID. And I mean, I'd be really curious. That just seems to me like not an accurate statement, and it'll never be fact checked because goodness forbid they fact check any Democrats.
I mean, I'm sure there'll be some fact checking, but I mean, there's a line for political gamesmanship.
Oh, sure.
Like, hey, like when Trump goes in and be like, oh, the doctor said he's never seen a physical, the greatest physical that I've ever seen, and blah blah blah. Like, dude, be like, why lie, right? But it's just what it is.
I agree.
It's just what it is. It's one of them things where it's like, all right, cool. You're able to. For me, I'm able to shift through the bull crap, the blatant bull crap, to get to the meat and potatoes. All right, what is the message that the person's trying to deliver? I don't go into the tout that, because when you tout accolades, it's like baseball stats, right, or football stats. Depending on what metric you use. You use WAR. If you use WAR, the greatest baseball player in the world, you'd be like, how in the hell is he ranked with Willie Mays and Babe Ruth? But wins above replacement says that some bum who only spent 5 years in the majors is the greatest batter of all time. You'd be like, nah, that's Ted Williams, dude. What are you talking about? You get what I'm saying? So
well, just for that, I mean, there's people who are kind of upset about how the Negro Leagues were added to Major League Baseball records, and it knocked, who was it? Was it Ty Cobb knocked him out of the #1 spot? I mean, I think it's kind of silly just in terms of competition, and I don't really have a problem with it. It doesn't affect me either way. But yeah, that's one of those things that Trump does. I brought that up with another friend. He said that's just the brand.
You know what? One thing that would have solved all of that.
Which, the Negro Leagues?
Oh yeah, with the Negro Leagues, if they just let them play damn baseball.
Yeah, back in the day, absolutely. Of course.
But because they didn't, you now have to have silly arguments about, well, is he really better?
Yeah. So, yes, absolutely. I agree with you. I agree that that's what they should have done. But I will say this. It is very, very, I think it's very unfair to go back and try to moralize history through today's lens. And it becomes, there are certain things that, look, 200 years ago, and that's, 1824.
Sure.
Basically, nobody in the world was really all that concerned with slavery. The British were starting to go, hey, maybe this is something we shouldn't do.
There were some people who were extremely concerned with slavery. I assure you.
Well, it was getting going. Like,
yeah, I assure you, there was a certain set of our who were extremely concerned with the plight of slavery. I stand corrected. The powers that be, but you know what, KJ? Again, when we start talking about slavery, I know we're off on a tangent now, but when we're talking about slavery, there was slavery in Africa
for a
That is-
century after. I
That is a
mean,
good candidate. I like those candidates. Not to stop you, but I love those candidates, man.
so okay, so I didn't see who was before that. Mark
For
Kelly's
sure.
Kelly's a
Bashir,
great story candidate.
It was so they're talking about Bashir out of Kentucky. You got Kelly out of Arizona, and then the other guys out of Pennsylvania.
Shapiro.
Yeah.
And I only knew Shapiro. I only knew that because I read it today. I'm like, Ben Shapiro is not running. They're not picking Ben Shapiro.
I told you when Kamala took the torch, I told you Kelly was gonna be my choice. Like when they put the list up, I was like, yo, that is a great choice because he has a fantastic freaking story. And
The story,
him and JD Vance are equally comparable. JD Vance will say, "Oh, I'm a Marine from middle class America." He'd be like,
I'm an astronaut.
Cool story, bro. I'm a Navy fighter pilot from midstream America. What else?
Yeah.
Oh,
yeah.
President got shot in the face for democracy. Cool story, bro. My wife got shot in the face for democracy. What else?
Well, she got shot in the face for schizophrenia, but yeah, I know what you mean, though. Yeah. No, I actually like Kelly as a pick as well. I think I hope okay. I was about to say I hope she picks Kelly, but we both know she's not deciding who to pick. The Matrix.
It's the same thing. It's the same thing. The machine will tell her who to pick. And
yes,
I would really like Kelly because not only does his story match well, he can also talk the talk, right? Like I don't know if you ever seen the dude give a speech, but the dude fits the bill, right? I like Bashir out of Kentucky because if he can win in Kentucky, as a Democrat, you're a bad mamma jamma off rip. But two, he's also young and he's charismatic as shit.
And I don't know Bashir well enough. I would ask this though, and I'm pretty sure I already know the question. Even if Harris picked Bashir, do you believe that puts Kentucky in play?
No.
Oh, here we go, Donna. Put Donna on. Let's hear what Donna says.
All right. Determination that he would not seek a re-election. But this was different. Obviously, this is much closer to Election Day, hearing this message from the Oval Office and President Biden. And in deeply personal terms tonight, in modern American politics, have you ever seen anything like this?
No, I haven't, David. And look, I've been a student of American politics since I was 9 years old when I worked on my first campaign to get a playground in my neighborhood back in Kenner, Louisiana. It's an emotional night for me, David, for obvious reasons. Joe Biden has been one of those leaders in our country that have taken so many people over the bridge. His entire history in public service has been one of commitment to freedom and democracy and justice. And so,
especially when he passed the 3 strikes bill.
I've known Joe Biden for years. I've known him for 37 years. This sacrifice, this ultimate sacrifice of giving up power. I asked one of my friends, I said, have you ever seen a man give his power, give the torch to a woman?
To a woman? Especially a woman of color?
But this is because Joe Biden.
Oh, she didn't say it. I thought she was going to say it.
Talk about Lyndon Johnson. You talk about the signing of the Civil Rights Act, the Voting Rights Act, the Fair Housing Act, the Head Start program. And you talk about Joe Biden with building back a country that was on the brink. So this is an amazing moment. I know we have a tight timeline, but the thing the president said tonight, he talked about the joy he has in public service. I am so grateful that I know such a human being who puts his country ahead of his party and who will pass this torch to a tremendous proven leader. Kamala Harris is ready. She was ready on day one. And Joe Biden, when he selected her almost 4 years ago in August, he knew he wanted somebody to be prepared for this moment. She will meet the moment. And I'm so proud to have known Joe Biden as a leader, as a fighter, and I'm going to help him over the next 6 months.
In watching this Oval Office address closely, Donna, I took note that this didn't seem to be a campaign speech tonight. This was not a rally. This was really, it seemed, a moment for the president to define his decision.
Thanks, Captain Obvious. Okay. KJ, let me ask you. There's 2 different questions here because I know these are 2 different answers. First question. How much of that does Donna Brazile actually believe?
I'd say about 80% of it, right? So she's like I said, she's from the Carvel generation. They've been in Washington for freaking eon. Hell, when I was in college, I was hearing about Donna Brazile. So
Oh yeah.
She's been around, and I'm sure Joe's been around too. But one of the things I hate is they sit back and they're sitting back, and now all of a sudden they're painting this guy as this ultra patriotic man of the people, Lincoln-esque, crusader for civil rights, when in actuality Joe spent a lot of damn time doing some disruptive stuff. You know what I'm saying?
He's also lied about his civil rights actions.
It wasn't until Obama rehabbed his image. You know what I mean? Joe was politically dead before Obama rehabbed his image. So now now everybody's coming back like, oh, this guy's, he's a champion for black rights, and bullshit. Like, I just.
Oh yeah, she's doing the eulogy thing. Now that he's dead, he's the greatest guy ever. Mm-hmm. So she believes 80%.
Yeah, I get you. 80%.
How much? I think she probably believes more than that. But how much do you believe of what she's saying?
What she says?
Yeah.
Oh,
just what she said just then.
It's like you said, it's the eulogy, right? Like, people are going to come to my funeral and they're going to talk about how I was such a great guy, and they loved me and they miss me. They do it at everybody's funeral, right? People I haven't seen in 15, 20, 30 years, people who my numbers locked in their phone and ain't dialed in God knows how long. But they miss you.
Shoot. I was hoping that was live. I was hoping that was Trump coming out to actually do a rally. How perfect would that have been? Not that ABC would cover it, but
oh my God, man. Man. The rhetoric on both sides is like crazy. Well, the one you sent me with the talking about being a Jew, what is it? A Jew party or something he said?
Oh my gosh, Jake Tapper saying that day 2 of the Republican convention was the most Jewish I've seen. And I was following the Lieberman campaign, or the Lieberman, when he was the vice president. I don't know the whole context. I only had that little clip. It was about 20 seconds. But when I heard that, I'm like, how does Jake Tapper still have a job?
I told you, it's the same way. It's the same way the dudes over at Fox is like, oh, instead of going to see Netanyahu, she decided, to spend a summer day at a colored sorority. Like, what the fuck are you talking about, man? Like, why,
wait,
dude?
Who stayed at it? Who stayed at a fraternity?
Oh, she went to. So Kamala wasn't at the VP wasn't at the address for Netanyahu. She had a prior commitment where all the Divine Nine sororities got together. And was that
where they had her dancing, doing the crazy dance with the little girls?
That was today. She did that today. Matter of fact, if I can pull it up, I will play it. I think I can.
It was more important for her to go to a sorority meeting.
No, a colored sorority meeting.
Well, I'll just say I don't care if it's colored or not. It's a sorority meeting.
No, that's what he said.
Oh. Somebody criticized her for doing that.
Yeah.
Okay.
It was more important to go to a colored sorority meeting than to see Netanyahu give his speech.
Well, I agree with the sentiment, but the word is like, why throw the word in? Like what I just said. I didn't realize who had said it. Like, it was a Republican. I didn't hear who said it, but did you say it was Van? I'm sorry. I was distracted trying to watch and make sure what's going on, but who said it originally?
Right. I'm going to pull it up and try, or at least I'm going to try to.
Okay.
See if I can get this.
We thought we were going to only do this for 20 minutes tonight.
I know. All right. So we'll close that out. God almighty. Where am I? All right. So we'll close that out. First, we'll play the Jew part, if I can get it.
Oh my gosh. Yeah. The one I sent you.
Let's see if I can get it to come up right. This is a great precursor, man, to try to figure this out. So I don't know. I don't know who that one viewer is, but they are holding on tight.
It's me.
Oh,
it's me. I've got it on my TV over here.
They are holding on tight, and we are rocking. Hold on. All right. So
no, that's me.
Let me see if I can pull it up. Get the volume up. So this is the Jew joint.
The convention.
And you know who's right across from Goldberg? That's that dude's name, right? Directly across from him is something Goldberg.
Anti-Semitism at Harvard. It was one of the most Jewish nights at any convention, and I went to the one with Lieberman. At the convention.
Come on, man.
There was a whole
I
night,
think that's Goldberg at least.
hostages being held in Gaza, a Harvard student talking about anti-Semitism at Harvard.
Just let it play this second. It's the same one, but watch the reaction of the guy. This guy. Did he just say that? It's just going over again.
Yeah,
so that was it. Okay, so do the Kabbalah. She went to the sorority.
Oh yeah, this was wow. Like, what are you doing, bro?
Harris, number one, she has not had her record exploited heavily because people thought and marginalized her. Even in the Democratic Party, they said, "Wow, what a bad choice Joe Biden made." She will not show up for the Prime Minister's joint session of Congress today. She'd rather address in the summer a sorority, a college sorority. Like she can't get out of that.
Oh, wait. Did she play it again? Did she say, and I'm not trying to, I'm actually listening. Did she say colored or college?
Even
said
the Democratic
colored.
Party, they said, wow.
Just play it again. You might be right.
She will not show up for the Prime Minister's joint session of Congress today. She'd rather address in the summer a sorority, a college sorority. Like she can't get out of
college.
So
He says college sorority.
The problem with Kamala
Let me hear
Harris,
one more
number
time.
one, she has not had her record exploited heavily because people thought and marginalized her. Even in the Democratic Party, they said, wow, what a bad choice Joe Biden made. She will not show up for the Prime Minister's joint session of Congress today. She'd rather address in the summer a sorority, a college sorority.
He said college.
She can't get out of that.
College.
The DEI press secretary
Yeah.
telling you that the DEI vice president is the future of the party here. And so the future looks kind of dim for the Democrats.
But still, saying that I get that calling her the DEI vice president.
in her hands.
That was tough.
I think that is just it's going to be a branding thing.
DEI press secretary telling
It's meat for the base, but I don't think the average middle ground independent is offended by saying something is DEI. I don't, and I could be wrong. I'd be curious. I'd have to think of who I know that's actually more of a moderate. I know a lot of pretty far left, and I know a lot of pretty far right. I don't know that many that are genuinely undecided. But I'd be curious, like if calling somebody the DEI candidate is offensive. I don't know if it is per se, because it depends on how people take it. You know what I mean? If they're saying she's DEI because she's black, I'm sure there are people who'll be offended by that. Are there people that are going to say she's DEI because she's a female? There's going to be people who are offended by that. But I think there's going to be people who are going to not be offended because, well, you know, I don't care. Like, I think she was hired based on the color of her skin and her genitals. So, it's, by the way, I saw something today on Twitter that it's already beginning. Somebody on CNN reporter was like, "Oh no, Joe Biden never said anything about black females." Like, really? Because it's funny. I just sent you the clips all of last week. Intellectually, Kamala is bottom of the barrel. DEI higher. I just don't think they have anybody else. Well, okay. How do you think
DEI was used in that instance?
Well,
do you think they meant it as oh, she's just a woman, or what do you think? What do you think was inferred there?
I will answer here. Oh no, put it back up for a second.
Hold on.
I'm going to answer. Put that back up because I have a question before I answer it because it's going to. Okay. The person who was above that quote, is that who said it?
Yep, the Wyoming rep, the rep from Wyoming.
I presume that was a woman.
That she is a woman. Yes.
Okay, just making sure. The DEI
Sure. She's a conservative Christian.
So DEI in that case was racial.
She's a conservative Christian.
Can I just make a side note? Okay, you guys, I'm going to say this as a joke, but there's a little bit of truth in every joke. I feel bad, the whole trans movement thing, for women who are aesthetically challenged.
Oh my God, are you trying to get us
aesthetically challenged? Because, like, how many people, you know what I'm talking about. You have seen people at the store that you're like, is that a trans person or is that just an ugly woman? It's unfair to ugly women. I want to stand up. I am a feminist. It's not fair for women. That's another reason it's not fair for women. Because I think anything that's good for women should be done. And trans making aesthetically challenged women feel bad about themselves and have to clarify that they are in fact women is unfair.
I got one more for you. Since our esteemed members of Congress, our leaders.
As you see my leg, that was unfortunate.
Let me see that.
I'm wearing
you take mediocrity, and that's what they have right now as vice president. Are you suggesting she was a DEI hire? 100%. She was a DEI hire.
Republican Congressman Tim Burchett of Tennessee.
Start that over. What was the first thing about 1951?
It's coming back. It's coming back.
Is it 1951? Is it 1951?
It's got to start
right. Was he about to go into like a country club in like rural Tennessee there, like in 1951? Is he serious?
I gotta wait for it to start.
You are a black woman, then you're a DEI hire. She was Attorney General of California, United States Senator from California. Where does he get off saying this? Again, just because she's a black woman.
Here we go.
He said he's going to hire a black female for vice president. When you go down that route, you take mediocrity, and that's what they have right now as vice president.
Oh, he didn't say anything about 1951. That was added on from what Scarborough said.
Yeah, he was asking, is it 1951? So the congressman was saying,
no. Wait, no. I don't think that's what it was. It was. The is it 1951 is what Joe Scarborough just said. Oh, what is it? 1951 Tennessee? So that little cryon. Okay. So here's the thing about that. Okay. She can be qualified. All right. She can have been the Attorney General of California, and she could have been a senator, which she was, and still be a DEI hire. Okay. You can have those two things together. You and I have talked about this with Ketanji Brown, right?
This is the part right here.
Female for vice president. When you go down that route, you take mediocrity.
Right there. When you go down that route, you take mediocrity. She is absolutely a DEI hire.
Yeah. Did he say female or did he say black? Did he?
Black.
Well,
black
okay.
Female. Black. He said black. He quoted Joe Biden as saying, when Joe Biden said, I'm going to hire a black female VP. And he says, when you go down that route, you accept mediocrity.
Okay. So here's the thing. I don't know who that dude is. I assume he's a Republican. Fine. But no, here's my point though. It doesn't matter. This could have been an independent. This could have been somebody else. I would still make the same point. You can have both of those be this. You can have both of those true at the same time, right? Because I look at, I'm sorry, Ketanji Brown. What's her first name?
Ketanji.
Oh, which initial am I missing then?
KGB, KJB. Ketanji Brown Jackson.
Brown Jackson. Okay, so I'm missing the Jackson part. Okay, so Ketanji Brown Jackson can be totally qualified and still be a DEI hire. Here's why. If you're saying I have this black woman who is qualified, but I'm going to hire her because, or at least in part, a large part, because she's black, then it is a DEI hire. Now, again, you and I have talked about this. the stupidity of Joe Biden and or the administration, whoever makes the decisions. We know on the Republican side, it's the Heritage Foundation who says here are the justices we think. I don't know who it is on the Democrat side, but the Democrat side comes out and says, "Hey, here's our list," and Joe Biden comes out and says, "Whoever it is, it's going to be a black female." That automatically made them a DEI hire. And to me, and we've talked about this, to me, that degraded her accomplishments. It made it, you're actively saying that I am only going to consider a certain group of people. And because I'm only going to consider this certain group of people, meritocracy doesn't matter anymore. Now, you can say she was the most qualified African-American female. Great, good for her, awesome, cool. But what you've now done is you've eliminated everybody else. Now, Black America right now is 13% of the population, right?
Sure.
So female Black America is 6.2 of the population. Okay.
Plus or minus. We'll give you that. Yeah.
Plus or minus. Okay. So now you're talking about, and let alone, you're probably, my guess is, in the justice system, knowing how things work between law schools and getting into colleges and all that stuff, the average, if you look at the demographics of lawyers, it's probably not 6.5% are black females. It's probably lower than that, probably underrepresented even more than the population. So let's say now it's 5%. Well, what you're doing now is you're saying, I'm only going to consider this 5% of the population, and I'm going to ignore who might be best for the job. So even though Brown Jackson might be great, she could 50 years from now, history books might be writing, she was the greatest. She forget not black female, not female. She may be the greatest in the history of the United States. She brought such an intellectual change. She did so many great things. And at the same time, there's still going to be that, but she only got there because she's a black female. She proved that she was better than that, but there's still going to be that she was a DEI hire and whatever the code. And I get the whole thing. I saw somebody on CNN yesterday say something like, if they say if they say Kamala Harris is DEI, they're literally calling her the N-word. No, dude, they're not. They're saying that DEI is innately unfair, and it's putting.
Some of them are. Some of them have taken. You literally just saw the Wyoming congressman and said, "Hey, she used DEI as racism." Some of them are using the word DEI in a derogatory manner.
But let me ask you this though: is using DEI equivalent or the same as calling somebody the N-word? You can say it's racist. You can say it's racist. Sure. Okay.
It's the same thing in how you use it, right?
Okay. Hold on. The fact that we can even say DEI versus not being able to say, now you can say the N-word, nobody's going to say anything about you saying it. If I say DEI, okay, and if I say Kamala Harris is DEI hire, and if I say they hired an N-word in Kamala Harris, I'm not back on this show. Somebody reports it to the command. I probably actually deserve a Gomar at that point or more, right?
DEI is just the term du jour, right? So we've been through this before, right? So they've used thug, right? They've used thug to identify a certain demographic of people, right? They've used the term urban, no different than saying, oh, that's a bunch of monkeys over there. Oh, is monkeys racist? They're talking about monkeys. No, monkeys is fucking racist, man. You know what I'm saying? Like, it's
let me ask you one. Did I talk to you about the Iverson quote? I was talking to somebody else, right?
Yeah, it wasn't.
Intent matters, correct?
Absolutely.
Okay, so let me ask you this. You might not remember this. When did Iverson go to Georgetown? Late 90s, right around the turn of the century, right?
Sure. Yeah, somewhere around there. I don't know for sure.
Okay. How tall is Allen Iverson?
What's he, 6'1", maybe 5'11"?
Oh, if he's got heels on, he's 6'1". He's probably 5'11" in shoes. He's probably closer to 5'10". Probably weighs $160, soaking wet, right?
Yeah.
But given the dude goes to the rack, that's why his career was to some degree such a precipitous drop, is because he just get banged around and his body just took so much damage. But back when he was at Georgetown, Billy Packer, Hall of Fame announcer, well-known CBS. He did, and can't tell you how many Final Four, championship games and all that. Iverson went up and dunked the ball, and he swung there and then dropped down. And Billy Packer said, "Look at Iverson. He swinging on the rim like a monkey." Now, if it was bad choice of words, yes. Do you think Billy Packer, who played college basketball himself, who's been around as many black athletes as you can name, who has covered the sport, who has promoted players, doesn't matter white, black, purple, green, do you really think he was saying Iverson is a monkey? Or, hey, look, if it's Gordon Hayward jumping up and hanging on and dropping out, like, oh, look at Gordon Hayward. Oh, look at Hayward hanging on the rim like a monkey. And Hayward's a bigger guy, so probably, I don't know who's a 5'11" guy who's a little bit smaller, but intent matters, right? So, like you said with the Wyoming one, DEI hire. Did she mean it racist? Well, she meant it in terms of she was considered because of the color of her skin and because of her genitals. I don't think that while it can be used as racist, while it can come off as racist, while the Washington rep may have meant it completely as racist, I don't think calling somebody a DEI hire is the same as saying the N-word. I just don't. Now,
and you
levels.
You would probably defend the fact that they was asking for Barack Obama's birth certificate for like 12 months. As
well, you and I
perfectly normal, right?
So you and I have had this conversation. Let me ask you a quick question on that, because I don't think this is it. Look, after one of the things I said back in the day when they were talking about Barack Obama's birth certificate was what, 20? It was after Romney, so it would have been around 14, right? So I think Barack Obama had been in office for about 6 years. Here's what I said back then.
He was asking for his birth certificate during the election, his first election cycle.
But it didn't come up until Trump brought it. Until
Trump was the guy that started the whole birther theory.
But he didn't really. I thought he didn't start really push it until later.
Oh, he pushed the shit out of it in 08. Trust me.
Did he in 08? Okay. Well, he wasn't running in 08.
That was a pretty big thing. Oh, he's not a citizen. We need to
see then
birth certificate.
Okay, so here's the thing, though. This is how I look at it. And this is what I said in 2014, because I know I was making this argument after Romney, after he'd been reelected. Because I said, at this point, because Trump did bring it back up again before he was considering his run, right? My whole point at that point was, it doesn't matter. It could come out right now that the birth certificate was absolutely forged, that he was born in Kenya, that he had no constitutional rights to be the president, and it wouldn't matter. You know why? Because he'd already been in office for 6 years, and they weren't about to go in and invalidate everything he signed, everything he did. The American people still wouldn't. I don't think you would have had enough on the left to even go, yeah, we agree. Yeah, he needs to be impeached. That's the only way to remove him from office. So even then, I was like, it doesn't matter.
Chappie, do you really think it was about a birth certificate, man? Honestly, do you think they made all that fuss about that guy about a birth certificate?
Here's what I think. I think you especially in politics, you use what tools are available. You sow doubt where you can. I've said this for a long time. I think Trump is an absolute a-hole. I think he's a jerk. I laugh when I hear stuff about him being a good. They said that at the convention. He's a good husband and grandfather, and I was like, he's a what now? Okay. So you use what's available, right? And as big a jerk as Trump is, I've liked his policies, especially his Supreme Court picks, right? And I said, to me, it didn't matter how good a guy Obama was. He could have been the greatest family man. He may be a great dad to those two girls. He may be just a wonderful, charismatic human being who legitimately cares about every single person he comes in contact with. And I don't care, because to me, it's about policies, and it's about what you push policies and how it affects the country. So when I hear people say, well, but how can you vote for Trump? Look, the LDS faith, we have our leaders, our church leaders come out and they say, you should vote for somebody with integrity, with honor. And I kind of go, okay, well, that's neither of them. And I don't think Kamala Harris has any higher morals than Trump does. So who am I supposed to vote for? Because there's nobody there that's going to win of those two. So I have to fall back on what I think is better for the country. So when I look at President Obama and they say the birther stuff, then to me, it's, what are you doing? You're trying to discredit the person in any way you can. And if it happens to be because he's black and you want to make it be a racial thing without making it a racial thing, there are people that are going to absolutely do that. Again, to me, I rabbit hole that stuff, the conspiracy stuff. I think there are certainly questions about the birth certificate in terms of live birth certificate versus actual birth certificate. You remember his brother? Do you remember his brother came out and said he was born here in Kenya? The brother that got disowned?
No. They called that man's wife a monkey. They called excuse me. They called
Michelle?
that man's wife a man. They called that man's children a monkey. And you telling me that's okay? Because
no, I'm not. I'm not saying that's okay, because like the Michelle thing, I've seen that too, and I've defended. For the record, if you guys know, not a fan of Obama, not a fan of Michelle Obama, but I've seen people post stuff online about Michelle Obama and all that, and I would generally just go and Google a picture of Michelle Obama in grade school. There's a few. Look, Michelle's got to be 50. How old is Michelle? Close to 60?
Somewhere around there. The whole Trump thing, right? Trump was a leading catalyst of, because when the birth certificate thing didn't stick, that's when they started doing the whole, we need a first lady with honor, with integrity, right? Not a man. That's when they started attacking.
I don't remember hearing that early. I thought, and I'm not saying it didn't.
No, it was toward the end of his second term when they was like, we got a first lady with honor, integrity, and Melania Trump, and thank God we got that monkey out of office. The monkey and
do you remember? Joan Rivers, not a conservative, right? Joan Rivers, of all the plastic surgery, Joan Rivers, the comedian Joan Rivers.
Yeah.
Do you remember seeing that interview where they asked her, do you think we'll ever have a gay president? And she said, oh, honey, we've already had a gay president. Are you kidding? Obama. It's Obama. He's gay. Like, you don't know this? And she wasn't joking.
No, she
right?
wasn't.
She's like, this is an open secret. Now, look, again, it could come out that Obama's been as queer as the day is long. I don't care. I really don't. I do have a problem though with the Michelle Michael argument, because all you have to do, like, again, when I saw this stuff, I would go on, and it's been, with social media, I haven't been on social media as long as some people, but you just go and Google the pictures. Like, here's a picture of Michelle Obama when she was like 8, 9 years old. Clearly, this is a little girl. She's got the little pigtails, and she's got the little. Do you remember the rubber bands with the hard marbles? Whatever the barrettes, whatever those are called. That's clearly, and she's in a dress. It's like, if this was 50 years ago or however many years ago, I don't care. You're not going to have a little boy who's saying, "Mommy, I feel like a little girl." Back then, that mom and dad are going to go, "Okay, yeah, we'll dress you up like a little girl," especially in the Black community, right?
It wasn't about that though, Chappie. That's what I'm saying. The point I'm making, it wasn't.
I'm saying
they know unequivocally that woman was a woman.
I agree.
A black
except
power, they had to demean her. They had to find a way to attack her.
Absolutely. What better way than to call a woman a man?
I'm not saying everybody is racist. That's not what I'm saying. But that is why you continue to have problems in the Republican Party, and that's why the Republican Party will not get the mass implant of black voters, even though black voters are leaving the Democratic Party in droves. The reason why is because you allow, as a platform, you allow bullshit to fly consistently. And that is not conducive. Like, you can't it takes a very special person, right? Like, to do that. Because if somebody had said that about my wife and my children, I would be shooting. And I don't mean that in any figurative term at all. I mean that as literal as possible. When you disrespect my family, I'm coming for your life.
Okay, I know what you're saying, and I get it. But I will say this. No, you wouldn't. Because listen why I say that. There is a point where, and now we're just getting into not even Michelle. We're just talking about general
just in general.
dad stuff.
Since we're here,
somebody comes up to my daughter, my 10-year-old, and calls her the most filthy name, slur, and it's an adult. Am I going to threaten that dude? Yeah.
You're not taking that dude's head off if you had the opportunity?
No. You know why?
Why?
My daughter needs me in the house to be raising her, not behind bar. What jury is going to say, and even if you could find a jury who would find you not guilty on that case, you're going to jail for the next 6 months to 2 years to await trial for some words, for some nasty words.
That is a very level-headed answer. I do not know if I have the discipline.
I think if you were in, there has to be that thought process though, man. Like now given, take the other side of it. Because you see this. My daughter's 10 years old. I walk into the bedroom, come upstairs, walk in the bedroom. There's some dude in there physically assaulting her. That dude's dead.
Yeah.
I'm not stopping. There are going to be teeth on the carpet. There's going to be brain matter on the walls. There are going to be splatter marks.
Yeah.
And there are going to be me calling 911 and just saying, "Hey, I need a cleanup," and go ahead and send the sheriffs and go ahead and bring your detectives because I just killed a man for assaulting my daughter. That's because now you're talking about physical.
Got it.
Because now there is a different reaction between words and actions. Okay. So again, with what I was saying about Michelle Obama is people saying those things about Michelle Obama. You're right. They are absolutely denigrating her as a person. They're trying to make her look stupid, I guess would be the word. They're make her look bad, whatever the word is. And I think that most of the people that do that are kooks, right? The people that are really like, if you have somebody, you and I were talking about this, I think earlier, or I texted something. The Drudge Report today had Nick Fuentes is not endorsing Trump.
That dude is
Now,
wild.
I don't know a ton about Nick Fuentes.
That dude is wild.
He's the bro group. What's the bro group called though?
Yeah, that I don't know what they're called. He's a part of this fringe conservative talking heads.
Yeah.
They believe in the white replacement theory and all this other stuff. And if it ain't white,
Yeah.
it ain't right. And just
He's the new. Yeah, he's like the face of the new Klan, basically the Republican Klan, not to be confused with the real Klan, which is Democrats. But just history lesson, everybody. The Democrats were the ones that were in charge of the Klan. So this Nick Fuentes guy, which I don't even know, is he like with a name like Fuentes? Is he Hispanic? Is he white? Like I don't even know. He's Hispanic, right?
Yeah.
Which is kind of funny for somebody who's Hispanic to be saying white nationalism, but okay. But to me, Trump, the fact that Nick Fuentes, whoever asked him and said, Nick Fuentes says, I will not, I cannot be bought to endorse Trump. I think Trump should come out and be like, you know what? We don't want Nick Fuentes. If you are a racist and you agree with Nick Fuentes that you should not be voting for Kamala Harris just because he's black, just because she's black, I don't want your endorsement. You know what I want?
He's of Mexican descent.
That's hilarious. I don't want your support. If you don't want Kamala Harris to be the president because you don't think she's qualified and you think I would do a better job, that's who I want. I want everybody who's going to judge Kamala Harris on her actions and on her character, and me on my actions and my character. And if Nick Fuentes is saying that he doesn't endorse me, I proudly take that non-endorsement. And Nick, you can go take that endorsement and shove it up your tailpipe. That would be the smart thing to do. Because like realist. Oh, what's the Star of David they're saying on it on his page?
Oh man. So
are they anti-Jewish too?
Yeah, known for political commentary, founder of the Groyper's Holocaust Denial Hate Speech.
Oh my gosh.
Homophobia, anti-Semitism, neo-Nazism, Christian nationalism.
You had me at Holocaust denier. I don't remember who it was. I honestly I don't remember. It might have, and I don't want to misrepresent who it might have been. So I'm just going to say somebody I knew. Somebody I knew basically tried to tell me that the Holocaust was it didn't happen, or at the very least it was exaggerated 1,000-fold.
Oh, I mean, people tell me slavery wasn't that bad all the time, so I get it.
And I told this person, well, here's the difference. You can have somebody sit down with a Holocaust survivor that has the tattoos, right? Now you can go and you can read, the plenty of accounts of slaves. Hey, quick question. Did you know this? I didn't know this. 12 years a slave, right?
Mm-hmm.
What's the story about?
About how they these slave catchers will go into the freed states. They, basically earn the trust of freedmen, get them intoxicated or knock them out in the middle of the night, throw them in the back of the cage, drive them down across the Mason-Dixie line, and sell them back into slavery. Yeah. It's
okay.
Really
so
rough.
So the book, right? It was a book.
Mm-hmm.
Who wrote the book?
I don't know. I never read it.
A white dude.
Probably. I mean,
it was a white dude. Like I didn't. The way it was, I always thought it was like an autobiography. I didn't know it was a white. I've never read. I didn't see the movie. I read more like you know me. I've been reading like Frederick Douglass and some of those things. I heard that and I was like, wait, what?
I don't know if you've ever done this or not. Yeah. What up, Thad, man? Welcome to the spot. Listen, I don't know if you ever done it or not, but in the National Archives, they have a oral history of slaves, where in like the
Dog, you better sit down. Take him out. Take him out.
Are you on the podcast?
Yes.
Sorry.
No, you're fine. Hey, what was he saying? What was that? Sorry, real quick. What was that saying? A slave who wasn't?
Who wasn't? I think he was referring to a book or a story.
Thad, tell us what you're talking about on that. Okay, go, KJ.
So in the National Archives, there are oral histories where they, in the early 1900s, they got a bunch of these people who were slaves, and they recorded the stories and the histories.
Oh,
man,
okay. Yeah.
Listening to these folk account for because they talk about the last couple of years of slavery, then they go into Reconstruction, and then they go into how everything was like. So they'd made these deals with the sharecroppers or whatever, and they thought everything was turning around. Then out of nowhere, you had these horsemen, these hooded horsemen who would ride at night. And then we later found out they became the Ku Klux Klan. Turned out the guys from the Confederate Army wasn't too pleased that they lost, and that's what happened. But man, it's just, I mean, it's one thing to read about it, right? Like, I mean, you and I know, we're history guys. Sure. It's one thing to read about it, but to hear people who actually lived it takes it and puts it into a perspective that just horrifies it, and you're like, man, I don't know how I could go through that, man. Like it's insane. But if you ever get a chance, man, I know that.
No, I need to. I think I've been to the Holocaust Museum in DC. I don't know if, and I've been to the MLK Monument. But yeah. So Thad, the thing that I knew the main character was a free man who was sold into slavery. The thing that I didn't know was it was actually written by a white man. That was the part I didn't know. So like when you're talking about the Frederick Douglass, some of those. I mean, Frederick Douglass wrote that. So I think I'm trying to remember which. It was a book I recently read, and they were talking about this, or it might have been a Substack or one of those, and it was saying how even 12 Years a Slave is a guy who is writing it, and they were talking about Harriet Beecher Stowe and some of those things. Like, you don't get the true point of view of somebody who was actually a slave. So that's. I'd be curious. Are you looking, KJ, right now to see if those are available online? You would think that they would be.
What's that?
The National Archives of recorded oral histories.
It's in the Library of Congress, and I got it. It should be scrolling now.
Okay,
that's the link. So anybody who's looking can see the link, and I'll send it over to you in Messenger. But
man, please do.
I'm telling you, it is.
I'll bet it's horrible.
Yeah,
I'll bet it's horrible.
Here. Yeah, I mean, I get it. I get it. Like, to read about it and, to see the pictures or whatever, you're like, man, that's horrible. But when you hear these people talk about it, like, like literally they were helpless. It was nothing they do. Like, you're stuck from the day you take your first breath to the day you take your last breath, no matter how brilliant, no matter how, helpful, no matter how beneficial you were to society. You a slave, B. That's it. That's as high as you could. That's as high as you could go in life. Period. But it's wild. It's wild.
Right. And that's and anytime I say things historically about slavery, it is not to discount. I will never discount the horrors of slavery. Oh, the book I just read was The Forgotten Slave Trade, and what it's talking about is how if you ask the average student in America, hey, we're going to talk about the slave trade, what are we talking about? And they're going to be talking about the by Solomon. Oh, okay, that makes sense. Okay.
Yep.
So if you talk about what the slave trade, they're talking about the transatlantic slave trade, and pretty much anywhere in the world today, you say, what was the slave trade? They're all going to say from Africa to America.
Right.
But realistically, the slave trade, if you just say, what was the slave trade? Well, are you talking about the Jews that were the slave trade into Egypt? Are you talking about the slave trade from the Roman Empire that was taking from all over continental Europe all the way up into England? Are you talking about the slaves that were taken from Ireland into England? Are you talking about the slaves that the Aztec Empire had, and they were going in and taking them from all around the Aztec? You know, there are stories for holidays in the Aztec empires where they killed 60,000 human sacrifices over a week, right? So where'd they get those people? They weren't killing their own people. They were going out and get them from the bush, right? They were going in.
I think a lot of that causes a lot of the issues from like, so when people like, especially like when the 1619 narrative came up and all the other stuff, people are like, oh, well, you know, well, why are we just focusing on this slave? You know, why everybody was a slave and everybody did this, you know, everybody was a slave. Yeah, but that's not the point. We talked about this ad nauseum, right? Like throughout the history of the world, slaves were slaves, right? If I captured you, you were a slave. That's just how it worked, right?
Yep.
Your men are slaves, but your women and your men are slaves. Your women and children are our concubines, and when we have our babies, they are raised up to be free citizens.
And however, we talked about this like 2 weeks ago, and the male, especially the Slavs, were castrated.
Right. However, for whatever reason here in the good old US of A, they was like, nah, B, if you a slave, we own your whole bloodline. And that is where it becomes particularly heinous. And I think that's where the friction point in that 1619 project came in, right? Because people were like, oh, well, yeah, you guys are slaves and all that other stuff. And, you know, your story's not unique because everybody was slaves. Yeah, but were they really, though? Like everybody
hold on.
had to turn that slave.
No,
slave.
KJ, historically, though, there were plenty of slaves that were then lineaged on as well. I mean, you can say that. Well, right off the bat, the Jews in Egypt were lineage. Once they became slaves, they were slaves, and that's why they became slaves. Were the numbers that were involved, but slaves that were also slaves. It wasn't just in America, like Thad is saying right now. The slaves that were down in Brazil, they were chattel slavery. And there has been chattel slavery. That historically, there absolutely was. There is historical writings that call the slaves chattel slavery from northern Africa and Arabia of the Europeans that were brought down, and they are called chattel in the records. So this is not a new thing in just America. This is
they came to get the African slaves.
Okay.
That they grabbed.
Right. Well, because that was where you could go in and you could make the economic deal to do it. So if you're in England, England's a bad example. If you're in, I'm trying to remember, was it the Dutch or the Belgian? I think it was the Dutch that were running the slave trade in West Africa. So what did the Dutch do? They went down to the west coast of Africa. They weren't getting off the boats and going inland and saying, hey, come with us or we're going to shoot you. They went down and they said, hey, let's find out who the most powerful tribe is here. What do you want? Hey, we need people because we have this new land that's opening up, and we need slaves. They need people to work, and it's hot, and it's the Caribbean, and it's Brazil, and it's Georgia and South Carolina and Alabama. So we need people Africa's hot and humid and all that stuff. So we need people. So for every head you give us of a live individual, we will give you X thing in payment, whether it was a gun or whatever. Well, and then the tribes went in. African kings tribe of this area would say, all right, yeah, good deal. I want to be the strongest chieftain in this area. So I've always been fighting with this tribe over here. Hey, if I get these guns, I'll give you X. You give me X amount down, I'll get you these guys. And that's how it started. Then they were shipped across. About 50% died crossing the Atlantic. But that's still, even with that loss, it was worth it to make that trade happen, right? We've talked about this before as well. The first slave owner in America was black, right? Why? Because slavery was normal. He comes over, he's like, hey, I've done it. I know what it's like to be a slave, and I got out of it. So I'm going to hire slaves because that's who I want. You know, I can buy these guys as an investment, right? So I'm not, and all of this though, just again to be very, very clear.
Made the wrong decision.
Just to be very clear, I am not downplaying the horrors of slavery.
Well, yeah.
I'm not. All I'm saying is that slavery and chattel slavery has been around almost as long as there have been written records. Some of the very first written records back in Babylon and Assyria had as part of their markings are here's the amount of food, here's the amount of cattle, here's the amount of slaves. It was very much a chattel slavery thing. Okay. So it's not something that I want anybody to think that I'm trying to justify it. I think it's a horror that happens right now. There's estimated 40 million slaves right now. But
in Africa,
in America, in the world, about 40 million in the world. But Africa, yeah, there's I believe it. I don't want to be wrong, but I want to say a good percentage was in Africa, but it wasn't like 50% or anything. Asia's real big on slavery. There's lots and lots of Asians, but even Asia, China had slaves. Those house servants in China, they were slaves 5,000 years ago. There's plenty of records of it. So
they were indentured servants. So
no, slaves.
Chinese?
China had slaves. Japan had slaves. Korea had slaves. They all.
Any account of China.
Yeah.
I've heard them having indentured servants and then conquest. Like, yeah, but I haven't.
Yeah, Dutch, exactly. Yeah.
Go,
yes, almost every society, every powerful society in the history of the world has had slavery, like actual slavery, not just indentured servants.
Yeah.
So
slavery. I'm tracking. Slavery. I'm tracking. In the
even
term,
even China and Japan and all that. What am I conflating?
I'm gonna have to go back and look at this.
I'm not conflating. I'm making the point that chattel slavery has always existed, and that there have been different forms of slavery, and indentured servitude is different than chattel slavery, but chattel slavery has been there since recorded history began. And I'm sure it wasn't any better to be a slave, an Assyrian slave, than it was. Let me be real clear that I say this. It wasn't easier to be a slave in Assyria or Babylon than it was in the South. As a slave, you worked your ass off.
That's got to be a hard position for you to try to come from.
No, slavery and indentured servitude are two different things.
I'm listening to you the way you try to pause and use your words. I'm like, man, that's got to be a very difficult position.
I don't want somebody taking something out of context. That's all it is.
I will defend you, Chappie. Don't worry about it.
Yeah. So, but one of the things historically that I see that is really interesting is the argument that, well, yeah, but slavery in America was different than anywhere else. And that's not true either. The Roman slaves, I know we're rehashing stuff from a couple of weeks ago, but Roman slaves had a life expectancy of under 18 years. That means they were dead before they were 18 on average. The average slave in Southern America, in the slave states, was just short of 40. It was about 38. Now, do you say it was a different time because of antibiotics and all that? Maybe, I don't know. But no slavery was like, oh, I've had it great. Another thing that happens in Southern America, and I'm trying to remember now which book it was, because there's a story about how it was one of the real smart slaves who he was raised to be the playmate of the white master's son, and he was actually smarter than the other kid. The black kid was smarter than the white kid, and it went up, but they trained him, to be the friend, and so he was able to sit in on all the classes. They taught him to a degree. And then the younger kid gets sent off to boarding school because he's the master's son. Now you have this 14-year-old or 15-year-old who's in the house, who's only known how to be in the house and who's treated much better than the average slave. And suddenly he gets sold off because it's an embarrassment to have now a 15-year-old kid who's going through puberty, and he gets kicked off and sold out to some plantation where he's treated just like another slave. And he got treated horribly by everybody on the plantation because now the other slaves hated him because he was too white now. So he was a damned if you do, damned if you don't.
So I made it all the way back to the 1400s, right? And I'm trying, and this is, I posted up there so you can read it. This is what has been consistent from what I read and what I know. Chattel slavery, when chattel has been talking about slaves in terms of commodities, right? So in that sense, which is the definition that I'm tracking, that has been going on for years, right? And then I have to look into the Jews. Yeah, they will be considered a ancient version of the Americanized version of chattel slavery, right? But I couldn't find anywhere else where chattel slavery, North American edition, existed, right? So they had chattel slavery where I would exchange you goods and services or whatever for slaves, right? And I would hold them for a lifetime, and then I'll come back and we'll do this. And I haven't found.
I'm telling you, it goes back to the Roman Empire. It goes back to Assyria. But let me ask you something real quick. From that definition, where'd you get that definition from?
This is the Archive of Slavery timeline, 1400 to present. From what's this dude's name?
Okay. Read the first, because you took it down. Read the first.
Yeah.
7 words.
Yep. It says, although various forms of unfree labor were prevalent in Europe throughout its history.
Unfree labor. Right. Unfree labor. That's slavery.
Yeah.
Whatever word you want to call it. So if you go back and you say historians call chattel slavery, right. Well, guess what? Unfree labor is just slaves. Although what it should have said is, although various forms of slavery were prevalent in Europe throughout its history, but it's also, I'm telling you, man, it's China. It's everywhere.
I think if we replace the word chattel with generational slavery, right? I think it would give a better context, right? Because
let me ask you this. What's the difference between chattel slavery, meaning, let's say, what would the difference between black? I'm trying to. Yeah. Okay. Okay. Yeah, I get that, and Dad, I get that you are increasing property and you are increasing value.
That was an economic thing, and I get it. But
yes,
for me between chattel slavery and generational slavery, right?
Okay,
chattel slavery is saying, hey, like the Dutch will come to the Zulu tribe, right? And they'll say, look,
sure,
I'm coming down 3 times a year, right? And when I come down, I'm looking for 500 people. Now,
right.
I don't give a damn if it's 500 Zulu, 500 Swahili. I don't care.
Sure.
I'm going to get 500 people.
Right.
So you need to make sure I got 500 people. And this is an ongoing agreement between those two individuals. So that is chattel slavery, right? Generational slavery.
You were trying to make it fancy there for a second.
I know, right? Yeah.
Chattel.
So generational slavery is like, yo, okay, cool. I got these dudes 70 years ago. They've produced offspring. Instead of allowing them to assimilate into my culture, they stay exactly where they are.
Ancient Greece had old people who had been slaves their entire lives.
Yeah, I'm gonna have to check it out. Like I said, I just haven't found.
So I want to make one point here about what that is saying here as the breeding, right? Increasing the wealth of the owners through breeding. Okay. And wrong. Right off the bat, let me clarify. That's absolutely wrong. Should not have happened. Okay. What's worse? Allowing or even actively breeding your slaves to increase their numbers and your property, increase money, or when you buy your slave, making sure that they are castrated so they won't reproduce. And castration could mean anything from crushing the testicles, and I'm talking about the males, from crushing the testicles to cutting an incision in the scrotum and scoring the testicle so it becomes no good, or even snip the entire package so that on easy inspection, there's nothing there. I don't think there's, and maybe I'm wrong, I'm guessing there aren't many Southern slaves, and when I say Southern slaves, slaves within the United States or in the Southern states, that would have said, yeah, I would rather be castrated than have any of my offspring also be slaves. Maybe I'm wrong. I don't know. But now you're just talking about levels of horror, right? So how in the world did we get?
How did we go from Biden to this?
That's what I mean. How did we get? And I think we got there in like less than 20 minutes, because I think like 1:17 we were talking about it. But no, and again, when you're talking about these different things,
was right. Carver was castrated.
Yeah.
George Washington Carver was castrated.
Yeah. So, was he? I didn't know that. I learned something today then. Okay.
Yeah.
Does it say? I'm curious. Did he say in his memoirs or anything why he was castrated? Was there a reason? And at what age was he castrated?
He was. If I remember correctly, they had a fear of it was right around the time they were doing they were trying to portray black men as like these over sexualized, devious. He was castrated as a boy. So what the slave master did is he castrated the boy slaves as a way to keep them from sleeping with their daughters.
But that was still prior to the Civil War, correct?
I don't know.
Because he wouldn't have been a slave post, theoretically. I don't know. That maybe, you know what, that's gonna have to be a book I'm gonna have to look up a biography on, or an autobiography, even better.
He was born in 1864 and died in 1943.
And he was castrated? He must have been castrated like as an infant.
He was castrated as a boy. I don't know.
But it didn't say how old he was?
No.
Huh.
I'm gonna have to go back and do that. You know what? That's weird.
I wonder, and I also wonder with him if that was then that makes me wonder if that was one of those where he was castrated out of the hatred and violence of what had been going on with the change post Civil War.
Yeah. It was. So after the Civil War, right? That's when they started the whole, and that's why I told you, those dog whistles and stuff, they have meaning, right? So what they did is they portrayed black men as these over-sexualized, hyper-sexualized, deviant guys, right?
Yeah.
So most likely, George Washington Carver and his family were sharecropping in Alabama, and they had a daughter, and they was like, "Yo, you not gonna put your little, you're not gonna drop your daughter. We gonna make sure of it." You know what I'm saying? So
they looked at him like they castrated him like a bull.
yeah.
Okay. No, that's interesting. And not in a good way, but I learned something today. So, hey, I gotta go. You've got a raptor there in your lap. I've got a Tyrannosaurus that wants to. Oh, she's coming in. The Tyrannosaurus. Oh, there you go. You got your raptor. I got my Tyrannosaurus.
All right.
All right. Hey, Thad, thanks for coming in. And one of these times we got to have him on.
Yeah,
So,
for sure. Sunday.
All right, brother.
We'll see you guys Sunday.
See ya.
All right.